Okay, so I want to do a short video on how I think is the best way to do thermal compound. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because I followed a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of computer professionals who say that the best way to do thermal compound is to put a pea-sized dollop in the middle of your CPU and then allow the further heat over the next couple of days to wear the thermal compound in. But I'm going to show you evidence now that says that that's actually a really bad idea. As you can see here, this is my old H60, which I've taken off to fit a new one. See, there's my H60. Big, massive H60, whatever. And the problem you see, right there, my thumb's going over it, is that there's a dollop, like a black line in the middle of my copper plate. That is where my old thermal compound reached to. As you can see, that did not cover the CPU. Not even close. The CPU was more like out here in this square. That's where the old thermal compound that originally came with the H60 was. And you can see where my own custom thermal compound reached. That was me putting a pea-sized dollop in the middle of the CPU and allowing it to spread. As you can see, it created a very ineffective and inefficient method of cooling the CPU. So I thought that I'd go on camera saying that I believe the best way to apply thermal compound, which some people will actually advise against and say that you don't need to do and that it could create problems, is to actually sweep it on manually and make sure that the entire CPU, this entire top bit here, is actually covered in thermal compound. Because otherwise, you could end up with hot cores. Especially if you've got a 6-core like this is, this CPU is a 6-core, where you could end up with, say, a hot core somewhere down here and then decent cooling up here. You know, you could end up with problems, massive problems. And you could just see from, that was the result of taking on a lot of professionals' advice on the matter. That's what resulted. You can see that anything outside, you can even see where the thermal compound wasn't really that well spread out, which could have caused dropped it, like up here for example, where it could actually have caused heat sinks even within the thermal compound area, which is absolutely useless. If you want thermal compound applied correctly, you want to spread it out manually, or right over the square, so that it covers it entirely. This does of course cause a problem. It's very difficult to do that correctly without a proper brush and everything. So what I've gone this time, as a little experiment, I'm not saying this is the best way to do it. As I said, the best way to do it is to scrape it manually. But as a little experiment, what I've done is put it as more like a line, as you can see, on my CPU. I'm just going to experiment to see if this creates better, better spread or something, Maybe it's just that the dollop isn't very good spread. I don't know. It might even be my thermal compound that's done it. But I've used one of the top ranges here. I've actually used IC Diamond, which was heavily upvoted and heavily recommended by a lot of people as saying that it's better than a lot of the others anyway. I got numerous thermal compounds. I've got at least 4 hanging around in my box. And this is the one that I was recommended as using eventually. You may have noticed the camera was shaking a little bit then. I was going to try and look for more thermal compound that I've got, but I can't actually find any offhand. It's somewhere in this box, in the nightmare of IT stuff. So yeah. That's the thermal compound I've been using. And people might say, oh, it's the thermal compound. The thermal compound is crap and that. But that is one of the better thermal compounds and one of the more expensive thermal compounds. So I thought I'd just clear that up in case someone brings that up. But yes, that is my view on how to apply thermal compound to a CPU. You shouldn't really listen to people who say, put a dollop in the middle. It's not going to work. It's going to create what you saw there with that terrible application. What you should do instead is spread it manually on the CPU to cover the entire CPU to make sure that there is no hotspots.